Welcome back to Paul's Tech News. Last week, I predicted that at GTC this week, Nvidia would ignore PC gaming completely. Turns out that was completely wrong, but it would have worked better as advice given the gaming announcement Nvidia did make, DLSS 5, which, to put it gently, was not well received, summed up by many as an AI slop filter for your PC games, the demo of which took just 2 RTX 5090s to power, and if you don't like it, you're wrong, because this technology definitely doesn't just apply a filter to each 2D frame, except actually it does do that. Geez, why are you PC gamers so angry? Also, Intel sounds like they might support a CPU socket for more than 2 years. The co-founder of Supermicro has been arrested for allegedly smuggling $2.5 billion worth of banned GPUs to China, and we can all breathe a big sigh of relief as Facebook's cancellation of the Metaverse has been canceled. That almost makes me want to reactivate my account after nearly a decade. Almost. It's also almost time for the tech news.
Excellent!
Today's video is brought to you by Thermaltake's View 600TG full tower chassis, featuring 4 tempered glass panels that provide an unobstructed view of your PC and support for massive 420mm radiators for AIO or custom cooling. Available in 5 distinct and unique colorways, including Future Dusk, the View 600TG also supports hidden connector and eATX motherboards and includes an anti-sag GPU bracket and rotatable PCIe slots, as well as easily removable ventilation panels and plenty of room for cable management and added storage. There's an optional 6-inch LCD add-on too. For more on the View 600TG from Thermaltake, click the sponsor link in the video description. It all started Monday as Nvidia went live with their GTC keynote, which, as expected, was 99% focused on AI and data center advances. But to everyone's surprise, about 10 minutes in, Jensen started talking about the history of CUDA, which naturally meant talking about GeForce GPUs. And after diminishing the foundation of his company to a marketing campaign,
GeForce is Nvidia's greatest marketing campaign,
which roped parents into buying video cards for their kids.
Your parents paid.
Who grew up to be computer scientists so they could turn into, what do you call them again, Jensen?
Your parents paid for you to be Nvidia customers. And every single year, they paid up year after year after year until someday you became an amazing computer scientist and became a proper customer.
Ah, a proper customer, implying that all GeForce gamers of the world are not proper customers because they hope to pay hundreds of dollars for a GPU instead of tens of thousands. But that's not what gamers are pissed off at. They're pissed off at what came next, the introduction of DLSS 5. Planned for a fall launch, Nvidia showed a demo of DLSS 5, which they say uses a real-time neural rendering model to add photoreal lighting and material detail to game frames. But to anyone who has been online in the past couple years and seen the proliferation of AI-generated pictures and videos that have poisoned the internet, there are plenty of tells that this seems like just an AI filter added to the GPU's rendered frame. From the homogeneous uncanny valleyness of them to DLSS 5's ability to adjust hairstyles, widen nostrils, or perhaps add a bit of makeup and shiny lip effect to the protagonist of a dark and brooding horror game. Heavily critical comments noted this, articles followed, and then on GTC Day 2, Jensen was asked specifically about the negative feedback from gamers, to which he said those gamers are completely wrong.
Since DLSS 5 was revealed yesterday, there's been a pretty vocal response from some of the gaming community. How do you feel about that?
Well, first of all, they're completely wrong.
Because DLSS 5, of course, fuses controllability of the geometry and textures and everything about the game with generative AI. And while Jensen's ad-libbed comments were a bit muddy, that seemed to be Nvidia's intended message. There's more going on than just an image-to-image AI filter pass for each frame. The game engine is also involved, and the artistic vision of the developer would of course be preserved. This is just an early demo, after all. But then, math teacher, tech YouTuber, and now official media journalist Daniel Owen did that media journalism thing and asked Nvidia PR for more details. And per Jacob Freeman, all those worries about this appearing to be a glorified AI slop filter seem true. DLSS 5 takes a 2D frame plus motion vectors as input. And Nvidia, in my opinion, appears to be using careful descriptions of how AI works to obfuscate what DLSS 5 actually does, painting over each rendered frame with AI. And as mentioned in the intro, the demo is running on dual RTX 5090s, one to render the game and the other to handle DLSS 5 processing, which introduces another question of if Nvidia has some future in mind where they try to get you to add a secondary GPU to your build just for this purpose, like some horrific modern incarnation of physics. But Nvidia has mentioned developers multiple times because preserving artistic vision and all, but turns out they aren't too happy about DLSS 5 either. Insider Gaming talked to art teams for Ubisoft and Capcom who developed Assassin's Creed Shadows and Resident Evil Requiem, which were used in Nvidia's demo, and they said they did not know about DLSS 5 at all and were worried about its use given Capcom's prior anti-AI stance. They also criticized the visual changes DLSS 5 made, as did devs who spoke to Kotaku in a similar vein. If you actually want to pixel peep some side-by-side images to compare for yourself though, check out the Reddit article linked in the video description, where poster Vidrak has assembled a collection of really high-quality image comparisons. My biggest question after the DLSS 5 preview flop though is just why, Nvidia? They did not need to do this. No one was expecting GeForce announcements at GTC. You could have just focused on this instead. The new Vera CPU, an 88-core ARM-based behemoth, which has extremely high single-threaded performance and unrivaled performance per watt per Jensen, and he's of course very trustworthy. And despite this being designed for AI workloads, one must wonder what Nvidia could do with it if they still cared about gaming. Single-threaded performance is, after all, a key spec for gaming performance, and if Nvidia's info is true, Vera is 50% faster than any single x86 core in compilation, scripting, and compression, while also sporting 1.2 terabytes per second of bandwidth for LPDDR5X memory, and a new version of multithreading called spatial multithreading. The cores that power Vera are codenamed Olympus, and were it not for all that DLSS 5 stuff, this week I would only be lightly criticizing Jensen and team for this not being somehow magically available in desktop trim, despite all the barriers to making that happen that exist. Let's continue with an update on the hardware shortage though, and it's about damn time we had some good news, so brace yourselves for modest progress with the RAM shortage. While things are far from over, the initial shockwave seems to have passed, and at least in some areas, prices are moving in the right direction, down. Specifically, one of those areas is Germany, where 3D Center has been monitoring price changes, and looking just at DDR5 prices, we can see the ramp up through October, November, and December, peaking in January and February, and now actually down 7.2% in March. Another chart shows how storage and video card prices have crescendoed in the same time frame, though RAM is definitely the worst. But don't get too excited. Remember, these prices are from German retailers, and they're still 300% plus over what they should be. The AI bubble that is the main cause of the shortage still hasn't popped, and no major new fabs have come online or anything like that. This is likely a correction after panic buyers and scalpers realized that RAM prices cannot continue to increase indefinitely. On the flip side, concerns about higher prices for other parts, CPUs specifically, have been percolating, and Intel seems to have informed their clients of a 10% price hike per tech power-up. Not sure if this will apply to the $250K and $270K scheduled to launch this week for $200 and $300 respectively, but do expect system integrators and retailers to pass that increase along to consumers in coming months. On the flip side though, there's optimism that Intel is changing tactics when it comes to desktop PCs, which was encouraged by the messaging for their Arrow Lake refresh last week. And in an interview with Club 386 published Friday, Intel's VP and GM Robert Hollick was asked if he sees a future where Intel sockets support more CPU generations, and he said, "I do." Good to see a man who's not afraid of commitment. Sounds like we have a wedding to plan. And now we come to tech briefs, which always happens faster than expected. Supermicro makes enterprise hardware for servers and stuff, so they've actually been doing quite well due to the AI boom, but apparently not well enough for co-founder, and I'm using his Western name here, Wally Lia, as well as charged co-conspirators Stephen Chang and Willie Soon, who were indicted Thursday for conspiring to import $2.5 billion worth of banned GPUs to China since 2024. The scheme apparently involved shipping servers with export-banned Nvidia GPUs to a holding company in Southeast Asia, where serial numbers were removed with a hairdryer and transferred onto dummy server crates, while the actual units were then forwarded to China so they could be deployed to make Chinese AI slop. Willie Liang still owns nearly $500 million worth of Supermicro stock, so his association with this ongoing scandal caused quite a drop in market price from Thursday to Friday. Supposedly, the investigation was triggered by this video posted to Chinese social media in 2024, bragging about having loads of Nvidia servers from Supermicro in China despite the export ban. Speaking of things that should be banned, Facebook, and specifically the Horizon Worlds platform where supposedly the Metaverse was going to flourish, was nearly axed from existence this week after Meta published plans to shut it down on Tuesday. Reactions ranged from "What is Horizon Worlds?" to "LOL, Facebook renamed their whole company Meta and poured $80 billion into this just to shut it down after like 5 years." Our schadenfreude must be suspended though, as on Thursday, Team Zuck said, "Hold up, maybe we shouldn't just 86 this whole thing," and the Metaverse was saved. Maybe give it another 5 years and then the VR hangout thing will really catch on. Lastly, I would like to announce that my sort of new channel devoted to Lego and brick building content has at last posted its first video. Hooray! Just a quick intro and a look at our current collection and Lego storage area, so check it out if you're sick of the tech world being a bit depressing due to the hardware shortage and you're looking for some further distraction. I have a couple additional videos already completed for that channel as well, so given that I announced it sometime way back in 2025, I think, you shouldn't expect quite as long of a wait for the next video to debut. And a big thank you to those of you who already subscribed. But there you have it guys, tech news for the week, and if you liked it, click that like button or leave me a comment down below. While you're down there, all of the articles I talked about today are linked in the video's description if you're interested, and you can check out my store at paulshardware.net for high-quality merchandise, t-shirts, and hoodies, beer sets, and more. Subscribing to my channel is always a good call too. Thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you next week.